Oseo.
Oseo.
This season of the summer solstice celebrates the Star Nation's most ancient summertime visitor, that great white buffalo constellation, recalling when the stars were once the buffalo. Also this morning we received a photo from Nye Beach up in Cedarville, Northern California, where we have eagles and buffalo, and she sent us a photo of a live buffalo with the stars and stripes draped over its body. The stars and stripes, of course, were made by Betsy Ross. She's a Cherokee. It's a Cherokee flag. Those stars were, in the first time, they were made in a circle. So it is the time that the constellation of the Pleiades rises, and the Pleiades is the head of this white buffalo constellation. So for that, look right here. I really wanted to make an impression this year with this head of the buffalo in Lakota, Pete Pika is the head of that. And also here, I've mounted this, I've removed it from an Arizona Highways magazine of 1968. The photo was by Jerry Jacka in South Dakota. So here you see the shield, and you see here the head. And also I nourish this head with sage. Every few weeks we go up into the mountains here and collect the sage to feed Pite Pika. And if you go up here to my shield here, this is also an illustration that I have made for the great white buffalo constellation, which is comprised with here. This is the Pleiades, which in Japanese, by the way, is Subaru. The car Subaru has the logo of the Pleiades. That's what it means. And here at the back is the three stars in Orion. And here to comprise the rib cage, is the star Rigel. And then way over here is the star Sirius, which is also rising at this time. And then this bright star here, this is also Spica, and the star Spica is the bright star of the constellation of Virgo. And that this was very important in the Mediterranean, which I am somewhat relating this to. And the island of Delos was the birthplace of Artemis and Apollo, like that. And in a hymn to that island, written by Callimachus, called Hymn to Delos, originally that island was called Asteria because Spica is centered on that island. His poem is Asteria, perfumed with incense. Round you the islands have formed a circle like a chorus of dancers. The circle is the islands called Cyclades, a circle. So that's significant here in the rising of all of this. So let me read this piece, for this. Imagine this stellar buffalo's head as the brightest star in the night sky, a rolling star ball coming toward us and then hovering overhead. Imagine its white streams of light beaming down on top of my head with loving energy. Imagine this white healing light coming down over my shoulders, down over my body, and as it touches each part of me, relaxing, loving, protecting. Now this white, downy softness envelops this body, with a ball of white light energy of true goodness. And I am protected in the buffalo's robe of white light, where only good energies can come into the sphere of the white buffalo star constellation. Shakwin Yippee, 7 comes. So that's a good way to speak of the significance, the meaning, especially in this time following the pandemic and other things that all seem to be constituting, a ebb tide, a shifting, and so forth. So be very mindful that from now on, for the next 6 months or so, over us is that great white buffalo constellation. All of this here has taken place in Native America. It's figured at the time that this would have come into focus for the Lakota would be about 3,000 years ago. And that would adjust for the change of the equinoxes that shift every 2,300 years. So we're looking at this appeared in the house of Taurus. So I'm relating what is here to also the ancient Mediterranean. Whether these here have actually stemmed from the Mediterranean or they just coincide with it, either way, there's evidence for both ways. So I'm kind of expanding that, and all the ideas that accompany this great white buffalo constellation. And here I'm speaking of the constellation, but there is also in Native America the importance of actually the white buffalo, and we have whole stories and myths about that. Right now it's the constellation that eventually the culture in the Mediterranean was overcome or suppressed by the warfaring men that came in and took over all the Mediterranean. And what was suppressed or put under, it's how can you put it, was the culture of the great goddess, which had lasted for thousands and thousands of years. And seemingly the very last of that is there, the island of Crete. It's a very long island along the latitude south of the Aegean Sea, and very, very significant. And it seemed to have ended suddenly, we think, with a volcanic explosion on an island nearby, and the population simply vanished. And everything was left there intact, as it had once been, until the archaeologists have uncovered it in modern times with so much evidence. So it's kind of interesting because what was preserved in this way then didn't have to succumb to the later invaders and occupiers. At first, before the archaeology all took place, it was thought that the Aegeans had pretty much invaded and wiped out the population, but that now is no longer the idea at all. But I am bringing out, expanding this idea of the white buffalo constellation now into the culture of the bull. Yes, the bull. This culture was very extensive. It definitely looks like the culture of the island of Crete had stemmed from Asia Minor, most definitely southern Turkey and so forth, and had brought what is also archaeologically evident, the culture of the bull in Çatalhöyük in southern Turkey. Exactly. This culture focused on something of the goddess and the bull, and it all seems there to be regeneration. The way we're trying to talk about the woman's culture and the kind of goddess who has many facets or faces, all amounts to a culture of regeneration. And so the bull figured in that culture. In other words, it's different than the macho idea of the bull, strength and so forth. But somehow it was in a regenerative perspective. Coinciding with that culture, going all the way down into the very western part of India, which is now Pakistan, where it's called the Indus Valley civilization. And again, this has been discovered in modern times by archaeology. And in that culture also we see something that looks pretty much the same of how we would say it was in the Mediterranean before the advent of those religions that came out of it, Christianity and Islam, Judeo-Christian, and those kind of things. So this goes back, several thousands of years. There in the Indus Valley, definitely 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 years. The culture of Crete, definitely, 4, maybe 5,000 to 3,000 years ago when it ended. So all of those kind of things in consideration. So this is what I have here. This is an actual artifact, albeit modern, from Crete of the bull. And here, what I've replicated here, this is called, the horns of consecration. And it means that this is a stylized bull's horns. And these exist ubiquitously everywhere, from colossal ones to little ones, made in all kind of material, clay, stone, stucco, wood, gilded wood, all of this. And so this is a very ubiquitous symbol of the bull horns. Coincidentally, while I'm touching on that, up in Nevada, Pyramid Lake. Pyramid Lake is surrounded by what's called a Paiute Pyramid Lake Reservation. These people, the Paiutes, that name is an American name for them. Their own name is Numa. And there is all kinds of evidence in this area. Numa come from the very eastern part of Libya that's called Numidia. And the letters and writings and things from there look like Libyan. Can't really tell the difference. But all the culture around Pyramid Lake, carvings in the tufa, paintings, caves, and everything, all has the culture of the Great Mother of the Mediterranean. And while I haven't found anything of bull there specifically, however, overlooking the part of that reservation called Wadsworth, where Vivian Olds lives, there is a mountain there, and that mountain is called by the locals Two Tips. That is a signature of exactly this, the bull's horns. And given everything else, and I do mean artifacts and paintings and so forth, the culture of the Mediterranean was there also at Pyramid Lake. And for the people there, two tips, the mountain two tips would be the tips of the bull's horns. And that feature is found in this culture in Crete by the same. So that's what we have there. And so that's why I have this bull here. And this figure here is made out of metal, and it is from India, but it does not belong to the Hindu goddess pantheon. While it is made in metal, these made in clay are found in considerable numbers in Crete. So this shape, this kind of bell shape of her body or her skirt, most likely resembles the omphalos or the navel, which would also be there. And so this would be somebody, priestess or somebody like that making an offering. And there are also paintings, frescoes have also survived in Crete that would have somebody looking much this way here. Another thing that's in Crete, if you can come down here and look at this, This evidently is made out of sandstone. But what I'm using it for here, there are many, many caves there on this island, used as various kinds of shrines. And one of those shrines, caves, has these stalagmites. And these stalagmites in the cave is the name of Aletheia, meaning the birthplace or the birth cave, where these stalagmites are considered the pillars of the goddess. So that's a way to remind us of that. And here also, this butterfly that is emerging from the horns of consecration means regeneration. So images like this, or very stylized butterflies, have the arrangement that I'm displaying here. Both the butterfly and here, up here, the bee in this culture are emblems of regeneration. All this has to do with regeneration. And we come back over here to India here. This is going to resemble India. In India, the culture of the bull has continued unabated, really fantastically, in as many forms as the consecrated horns had in the Mediterranean. The image of the bull is in India in every material, in every kind of way. So this is actually my replication. And there, mostly, as far as I know, it's called Nandi. And Nandi is exactly associated with the Hindu god Shiva. And he's, one way or another, is shown with the bull, sometimes riding or sitting on the bull, which is a duplicate also of sculptures found in Crete, only Europa is riding the bull or sitting on the bull. But in both cases, the bull is almost always garland. It's always a garland. So something that's very, very similar there. And so I've replicated that, and here, this is an antique from India, India village of the bull. Usually, or often, they're actually painted white. So Nandi is almost always figured as white as I have it. This one, however, isn't. And you see these holes here. These were for handles that people would actually carry this in a procession. We would call it a procession. And here is a small figure of the bull, Nandi. Again, figured most positively. People make offerings. Some of the figures, they pour milk over the statuette for it. Others that they will put red powder on them. I mean, there's all kinds of things that go on with this culture of the bull that I'm bringing out. When you go all the way down here, if you can get a picture of that. Now, I've replicated this. This is also from the ancient Indus Valley civilization, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 years like that. And these kind of images are found on something they're calling seals. They've been carved and however they were used. But for modern people in India, having come to see this, they believe that this is a prototype of the Hindu god Shiva. And also, he is sitting in a asana, yoga, and that his head is wearing the horns of the bull. So there are also, in that very ancient Indus Valley civilization, images that's definitely of the bull. I'm emphasizing the bull because there is also a culture there, especially in India, of the cow. The Vedic culture, the early Vedic culture, is all about the cow. This one, I'm emphasizing bull, the bull, like that. And that's all these things that I have here. Now over here, back to Turtle Island, while there's all kinds of evidence that the cultures, languages, or people in Native America, who the English Americans started out calling savages, then eventually Indians, American Indians, and then it's kind of, you know, rolled into indigenous or, respectively, Native American. But there, all this evidence is of people coming from, have come from the Mediterranean. So one of those things I should say, if you look right up here, this is a shield by a young woman in the Lakota. The Lakota have a women's society all devoted to the buffalo. And it may also have much to do with the white buffalo calf woman, an apparition that came to them and gave them the white buffalo pipe, you know, peace pipe, and so forth. But the society has continued as a culture of the buffalo, whether male or female buffalo, I have never heard, just the buffalo. And this one, you know, has the hoof prints. And I have, you know, a couple of these kind of initiatory shields. There's an actual culture for it. And that's why I'm putting this here to say, in Native America, there continues to be a culture of the buffalo, then we could say, of the bull, if we want to relate it to the ancient cultures as well. So that you can come down here back to India and have this figure here that says Om. A lot of people are familiar with this. It's actually Sanskrit letters. It spells A-U-M-N for Om. What it's actually derived from is the ancient Vedic rituals of pouring fat into the fire, they had a fire ritual culture, and all the time the Hatali is the chant priest. He is lowing. Mm, mm, and that this lowing eventually became, you know, formed into this Om. The M is pronounced with an N, Om, like that. And so that's what this figure stands for here. Coming back again to Native America, and you come to this figure here. This is a white rock that has been fashioned, or mostly looks like a buffalo. This is from Zuni. Again, Zuni is the Spanish-American name for these people, the Ashawi. And these people, their immediate predecessors, have actually stemmed from the Jojura Mountains of northwest Morocco. And they are Berbers. They are Berbers, and their language is evidence of Hamitic, and that they have been on a journey following the great bear Constellation to the west, and that they have come all the way from the eastern Mediterranean as following the goddess of Kibel, which is also a name in their language, and which also the invader or attacker of their pueblo, Coronado, knew that. He knew that they were Berbers, and he knew that they were from there because he had made raids in Morocco like that, and it's in his journals. So I just always want to put that there. And the very pueblo that Coronado laid siege to, of the six, only that one is mentioned, that's Hawiku. It means house of the goddess, and that is definitely Mediterranean. It's definitely in the Hamitic language. There's no question of that. I can go on and on with that, but I always try to put that in here that way. So this rock, curiously, is particularly found in Arizona, just east of the Salt Lake, where there is also ancient ruins around there where we have been. And so it's, you know, quite a ways from the pueblo itself, but the person who found the rock must have been important and gave it enough little shading so it would look like a white buffalo. Now, with all that, I think that I've pretty well covered it. Yes, I'm going to go over here to, this is my drawing. And with my drawing, I mean, you can see it, I love my drawing. And I'm going to have a Mary Oliver poem while looking at this drawing. Mamikos polygnotos, mockingbirds. This morning, 2 mockingbirds in the green field were spinning and tossing the white ribbons of their songs into the air. I had nothing better to do than listen. I mean this seriously. In Greece, a long time ago, an elder couple opened their door to 2 strangers who were, it soon appeared, not men at all, but gods. It is my favorite story, how the elder couple had almost nothing to give but their willingness to be attentive. And for this alone, the gods loved them and blessed them. When the gods rose out of their mortal bodies like a million particles of water from a fountain, the light swept into all the corners of the cottage. And the elder couple, shaken with understanding, bowed down. But still, they asked for nothing beyond the difficult life which they had already. And so the gods smiled for them as they vanished, clapping their great wings. Wherever it was I was supposed to be this morning, wherever it was I said I would be doing, I was sitting at the edge of the field. I was musing through my own soul, opening its dark doors. I was leaning out. I was listening, even now.